Conversations from the Zoom Room.
What's up, you guys? Bill here. Hope you're doing good. Reporting to you from beautiful Encinitas, California. Swami's. The beach is opening back up. Sunset. And reflecting back on our last episode, Dave Shute gave us some tough love. I think we needed to hear it. We didn't want to hear it, but we did need to hear it. Next up, I'm really excited about this episode with Jim McGran. It's really interesting. He gets into insurance, how the economy is going to affect things, opens up about himself a little bit. What an interesting guy. So take it away. Conversations from the Zoom. Thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate that, Jim.
My pleasure. Thanks for reaching out.
Jim, a couple of questions for you. As Bill said, we've been having these series of conversations with other people, frame vendors, we've got lens vendors, we've got independent ECPs, large chains, and they're all articulating their unique problems, right? What the pain points that they're seeing and what their future holds for them. Right. So I'd be really curious to know, you've got access to a lot of independent ECPs' eyes and ears. What are you hearing from them? Are they also reiterating what we're talking about here, or are there other things that they're talking about that worry them?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of them in the initial, the first 3 or 4 weeks of this, really, it has been back, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but been about survival, right? Yeah. Calling us, what can you guys do to help us, extend our payments, or I can't pay you today. And then us working with the strategic partners to say, look, the doctors don't, they don't have any money. So it's been very, very tactical around that. You're just starting to see them come out of and thinking more about recovery, right? And what does the road to recovery look like? How can I open? If you look at the newest Jobson research study that came out earlier in the week, right? The only thing that they asked, what do you want help with? That's continuing to trend up is how to gear back up when reopening. Yeah. So that seems to be, a flashing light. So we've shifted our focus a little bit to building this with our doctor Justin Manning, who's our head of professional strategies, building what we're calling bridge to rebuilding, or road to recovery. Mm-hmm. And what you need to do 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, when you open, walking them through that. And at the same time, talking to our partners, some of the partners like I Care Live, how can they quickly, implement at least some form of a solution. Mm-hmm. And then I've talked to some of the other technology companies like Ditto. Kate was with us when we were all in New York that time. Yeah. But she has some ideas there too that I think she'd be someone very, very willing to partner and join forces to try to help keep the independents alive. So that's really what we've been hearing lately, is mostly about survival and how do I get there. Just recently, maybe earlier this week, it's starting to be, okay, what are you guys going to do to help us gear back up?
And that's, consistent with what we're seeing also, the shell shock is kind of worn out. And there's, the people, the innovators will always innovate. And, thankfully we're connected with a few of the real innovative ODs out there, the independents. And they're saying, okay, we got to change our ways. They're not panicked anymore. And they're looking at, new tools, new technologies, new workflows. One thing that you mentioned, which really resonates at large chain levels as well as independents, is this idea of physically touching product in a store. As we want people to interact with product, right? We want them to try things on. And now there's this whole dimension of, should you be really doing that? And what's your additional cost of cleaning that if people are interacting? So that kind of lends itself to conversations like, okay, maybe virtual try-on is a thing in store that people need. Up until now, we've been talking about putting it only in a website, on an online experience before they come in. But now it makes sense. Okay, try it virtually and then limit your exposure.
They try it on virtually. They pick out frames, and then when they arrive, they're already in a tray, and you can commit. These have been cleaned. No one else has worn them. Yeah. They try them on. They pick one. Then they go back through the cleaning process. Different than just letting someone loose in the store. Everything that's out there, it's going to be such a different world.
Yeah,
such a
real
world,
paradigm shift. A real paradigm shift from our experience as store designers as well.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, we want everything to be open and accessible and touchable and
Right.
browsable. And then now it's like, everyone's calling for protective acrylic screens and all the old offices where they had the little window that you slid open.
Yeah.
I remember that as a young sales rep. I'm like, can I talk to the optician?
So you know what? This made me think of something, Bill. We know like Apple kind of reinvented retail,
Yeah.
right? Their store layouts and everything was like there for you to play with, and that's how they engage with people with their product. It'd be interesting to keep an eye on also how they're gonna adjust, because they're all about engagement and touching things.
True.
And what do they do, right?
It's a whole different, is everyone going to be issued a pair of gloves for while you're in there? But even everything you've been hearing about with gloves, people are all of a sudden out with gloves, but then the gloves are transferring it too, or people think they have gloves on, they can touch their face. Meanwhile, it's so awkward still, right? People, you don't know how to live in the whole, you wear your mask. For those of us that wear glasses, right? Our glasses get fogged up. It's, this whole new challenge.
Yeah, it is a whole new way of living, and it's strange when you see someone, and you keep distance, right? Just back to the integrations part. We've been tasked from a number of different clients, both on the independent and chain side, to help solve the insurance lookup or verification and calculation issue as part of workflow. There's a lot of frustration out there about that information being difficult to access, and oftentimes it'll take 15-20 minutes on the phone to get it. So I was just curious about your thoughts on why that is.
Right.
You just think about why is it? Yeah.
You're absolutely, there's such a lack of transparency around vision benefit. I'll put up my VSP hat when I was there. You would hear it all the time. The doctors would complain. You'd go meet with them. They'd say, Jim, these people show up. They don't even know what vision company they're with. Then we call you first because you're the biggest. But if it's not you, then we call IMED. Then we call Spectera. And they keep trying to find. Then they find them. And then they get their benefits. And then the consumer completely doesn't understand them. Or sadly, if a consumer, a medical condition gets uncovered, then they ask for their medical card, and the consumer's like, well, why do I need a medical card? I have VSP. They're like, well, you have glaucoma. VSP doesn't cover glaucoma. It covers, an eye exam and glasses. So it is such a broken part of our whole industry.
We understand how people will look up benefits in private practice, right? Where you've got the doc there, and then you've got optical. It's all one sort of closed cell. And most independents will look it up the day before that patient's coming in, and they'll say, Jim, here's your benefit. But it's still a process to get to that data, right?
Yes.
So and most independents that we talk to say, we can look it up and we get it, but then we've got the whole death by calculation when doing the sale part of it. That's a hassle. So we know there's hassles on the independent side, and not just VSP, but all the vision care plans.
It's not.
And then there's hassle on the chain side, especially if you've got independent doctor of optometry, or someone's just walking into a chain X or Y or Z. And they're saying, man, we have one large client who recently told us their average lookup time or verification and lookup is 25 minutes.
We need to make this process easier for them. We need to make it less painful. We need to make it less painful for the doctor's office, absolutely. But the member, it is a broken process. And now, saying that, there's absolutely code and systems there to do it, right? You just by your name, your social security number, it can go into the VSP system, and it knows exactly what your benefits are. It knows, what your exam. Most of the time, it's a full comprehensive eye exam. And then depending on the plan and what you're in, it's, you know, some frame allowance, some lens allowance, and if you're a contact lens wearer, contact lens. So it's, while there's complexities in there on, you know, add-ons and these types of things, it really isn't that, you know, it's not, you know, rocket surgery, right? It's pretty straightforward stuff. And some of it is just them holding it close to the vest. Back to what you guys are trying to do, though. Again, not taking advantage of a horrible time in the world, but really just looking and saying the world is going to be different. They're going to want everything they possibly can do to make it easier for consumers, make it easier for IMED and VSP. It's in their best interest that they're consumers, because they want to sell their frames and lenses. You know, they don't necessarily like when people utilize their insurance, but at least if they're buying their frames and lenses, those are their higher margin businesses. They're better off. So they're going to want to make this a nicer, cleaner experience for the doctors and for the you know, for the consumers, without a doubt.
Conversations from the Zoom Room.